But now I'd like to give you some tips on how to keep your packages alive, because that's the most important. Just installing them is the first step. Now you got to take care of them since they're your bees now. The first thing that you have to do is you have to feed them 1-to-1 sugar syrup continuously, and this will stimulate their wax glands so that they can build the wax in the hive. And I suggest feeding them until they build at least 10 full combs of wax out. Depending on where you live in the world, maybe you want to do 20 frames if you're going to house them in too deep. So you do have to feed them pretty much the whole season, unless you have a really good honey flow and they're bringing in lots of nectar. I suggest feeding them for the whole year. Second tip is you should feed them some kind of pollen substitute, whether it's dry pollen or patties or something. And this stimulates brood rearing because the carbohydrates in the sugar syrup will stimulate the wax glands for them to build wax. But until they start taking in protein and all the minerals and the micronutrients of a pollen or a pollen substitute, they will not raise brood in any great numbers. A small amount, but not a large amount. So I suggest feeding them pollen patties. And there's a great article on the MegaBee website, and I'll link it down below, that tells you that you should probably feed your bees about 6 weeks of pollen. You don't want to just feed them like one little time, and it doesn't really do the trick. You need to do about 2 brood cycles, and you'll see a definite benefit from feeding them the pollen substitute. The third thing that's really important is you need to check your queen has been released after about 4 days. After about 4 days, her pheromones have traveled through the hive, and if she hasn't been released, it's safe to release her on her own and they won't hurt her. You don't want to do it any sooner than that, but a lot of times, depending on how long your package was shipping, the candy can get hard and they can't eat it out in 4 days, and then she's trapped in there and she's not getting fed as much. So that's one of the #1 causes of package failure, is the queen's not being released and people don't go back and check them. So definitely check that your queen has been released. Sometimes your package will want to supersede its queen, and this usually happens about 15 to 20 days after you install the package. And the reason is the honeybee colony can sense that there's not enough nurse bees in the colony, and they think something's wrong. They don't understand that you just installed a small amount of honeybees and they're ramping up and they're going to be fine. They think there's a problem because there's not enough nurse bees, and sometimes they'll try to supersede your queen. So if you go into the hive and you see queen cells, you don't want to kill them right away, because you want to make sure that your queen is still in there. If she's still in there, then you can get rid of those queen cells. The best way to prevent this supersedure is to add a frame of brood to the package about 15 days after you've installed it. If you have a partial frame of brood from another hive, that gives them, and those bees will hatch out, that gives them those nurse bees in that critical time, and they'll think, okay, everything's fine, we have nurse bees to take care of the eggs that the queen is laying, and everything is good. If you don't have a frame of brood to add to your package, the only thing you can really do is continue to get rid of the queen cells until they accept that queen, or let them raise a new queen, but then you're going to be a few more weeks behind. And the problem is then you're going to have the same problem. The hive is not going to have enough nurse bees, and so sometimes it turns into this never-ending cycle, and that's one of the biggest reasons that packages fail. So I usually just kill the queen cells, but I make sure that the queen is still in there. If you want to check out a video that I did, I'll put it up in the card about marking your queen so you can find her easily. I'll put that up there. Last tip is, and this is a hard one because I know you're excited and I know you got some bees and you install them and you want to check on them every day, but you don't want to go in there that much when they're first getting established. Like I said, check them after 4 days for their queen, then maybe check them another after 10 days to see if she's laying. But try not to go in there every day and look at them, and definitely don't use a lot of smoke, because you want the queen to be accepted and you want the hive to get established. After about 2 or 3 weeks, then you can start going in there more. They won't be bothered by you because the queen is laying, they've got their nutrients, you're feeding them, everything is rolling, they're building wax, and everything should be good. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to find out more about feeding your bees, I'll put another video up in the card. And please leave comments about installing your packages. If you have problems, leave a comment. I'll get back to you as quickly as I can. Thanks, and as always, be extraordinary. Well, if you'd like to become a better beekeeper, consider subscribing. Thanks for watching.